The SOS from the stars. The night sky was calm, a tapestry of stars shining down on Earth as humanity went about its usual routines. At a remote space observatory in Nevada, Dr. Eleanor Hayes, a seasoned astrophysicist, stared at her screen with growing confusion. A strange signal, faint but unmistakable, had interrupted the usual cosmic noise. At first, she thought it was a glitch, but the repeating sequence of tones and pulses told her otherwise. This was deliberate, intelligent. "Dr. Hayes, are you seeing this?" asked her young assistant, Mark, his voice shaky with excitement and a touch of fear. "I see it," she replied, leaning forward. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, running the signal through multiple filters. The patterns were too precise, too organized. It wasn't random static. This might be a message," she said softly. Within hours, word spread through the scientific community. The signal wasn't just a fluke, it was a distress call. A team of experts from around the world gathered at the United Nations Space Command to decode the transmission. The message was haunting. It told the story of a dying alien race, the Elorians, exiled from their homeworld and hunted across the stars. Their plea was simple: "Help us. We have nowhere else to go." The room fell silent after the message was fully translated. The implications were staggering. Humanity had long wondered if they were alone in the universe, and now they had an answer. Not only were they not alone, but an alien race was asking for their help. "Do we know their location?" asked General Carter, a no-nonsense military man who had spent his life preparing for threats from other nations, not other planets. "They're in the Lilac Nebula," Dr. Hayes explained, "roughly 20 light-years from here. Their ships are damaged, and their resources are depleted. They won't survive much longer." A heated debate erupted. Politicians, scientists, and military leaders argued about what to do. Some feared a trap, a clever ruse to lure humanity into a dangerous situation. Others saw an opportunity to prove humanity's strength and compassion on a galactic stage. "This could be a chance to show the universe what we stand for," said Dr. Hayes, her voice steady. "Compassion, bravery, and unity. If we ignore this, what does that say about us?" But others weren't so optimistic. "What if helping them brings danger to Earth?" One politician countered. "We don't know who exiled them or why. By getting involved, we might make enemies we can't handle." Ultimately, the decision was made. Humanity would send a reconnaissance team, a small crew of scientists, soldiers, and engineers, to verify the Elorian story. The mission wasn't just about helping the aliens, it was about ensuring Earth's safety while reaching out to the stars. The chosen crew prepared for departure aboard the Horizon Voyager, a state-of-the-art exploration vessel equipped with advanced technology. Captain Daniel Royce, a seasoned astronaut, led the team. Beside him was Dr. Hayes, whose expertise had brought the signal to light. The rest of the crew included Mark, now officially part of the mission, a team of engineers, and a squad of elite soldiers. As the Horizon Voyager lifted off, millions watched the launch from their screens. Hope and fear mingled in equal measure. Was humanity about to take its first steps into a broader universe, or were they walking into a trap? The journey to the Lilac Nebula was tense but uneventful. When they arrived, the crew was greeted by an eerie sight. A cluster of alien ships, battered and barely functional, hiding within the shadow of a massive asteroid. The ships looked ancient, their hulls scarred by countless battles. As the Horizon Voyager approached, a transmission crackled through the speakers. "Earth vessel," a voice spoke, weak but clear. "We are the Elorians. Thank you for answering our call. Please, we need your help." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. The voice sounded genuine, filled with desperation and exhaustion. But trust was hard to come by in such a situation. Captain Royce ordered the ship to hold position as they scanned the area for any signs of deception. Dr. Hayes leaned toward the microphone. "This is Dr. Eleanor Hayes of Earth. We've received your message and are here to assist. Can you tell us more about your situation? The voice hesitated before responding. We were betrayed by our allies and hunted by those who once called us friends. Our homeworld is gone. We are all that remains. The sincerity in the voice tugged at the crew's hearts, but questions lingered. Why were they exiled? Who were their enemies? And could humanity truly trust them? The chapter ends with Captain Royce making a fateful decision. Prepare the landing craft. We're going aboard one of their ships. The crew braced themselves for the unknown, their hearts pounding as they prepared to meet the Elorians face to face. Little did they know, this was only the beginning of an adventure that would change humanity's destiny forever. The Elorian refugees. The Horizon Voyager's landing craft maneuvered through the dense asteroid field toward the largest of the alien ships. Its surface was pockmarked with craters, scars of battles fought long ago. As they approached, the faint glow of the ship's power core flickered, like a candle struggling against the wind. Inside the craft, the tension was palpable. Captain Royce's voice broke the silence. Remember the mission. Stay alert, but keep an open mind. We're here to help, but safety comes first. Dr. Eleanor Hayes nodded, gripping a portable scanner tightly. Beside her, Mark adjusted his helmet nervously. Do you think they're really telling the truth? He whispered. Eleanor glanced at him. I hope so, Mark, for their sake and ours. As they docked with the alien vessel, a soft hissing sound signaled the airlocks aligning. The door opened, revealing a dimly lit corridor. The air inside was stale, carrying the metallic tang of recycled oxygen. The walls were lined with intricate carvings, depicting scenes of what appeared to be the Elorian homeworld, towering crystalline structures, lush forests, and skies filled with twin suns. But now, those images seemed like a cruel reminder of what they had lost. Welcome, humans, a voice echoed through the corridor, startling the crew. Turning, they saw their first Elorian. The alien was tall, with a lean, almost skeletal frame. Its skin shimmered faintly, shifting between hues of silver and blue, as though reflecting its emotions. Its large, almond-shaped eyes held a depth of sorrow that words could not convey. It extended a hand, its long fingers trembling slightly. I am Vera, the speaker for our people. Thank you for coming, the alien said, its voice carrying a strange musical cadence. Captain Royce stepped forward cautiously. I'm Captain Royce. This is Dr. Hayes and our team. We've come to learn about your situation and see how we can help. Vera inclined its head. Follow me. There is much you need to see. As they walked through the ship, the true extent of the Elorians' plight became clear. Hundreds of them huddled in makeshift shelters, their once regal clothing tattered and stained. Some were wounded, others too weak to stand. Children clung to their parents, their luminous eyes wide with fear. Dr. Hayes scanned the room, her heart sinking. They're malnourished. Their immune systems are failing from prolonged exposure to harsh conditions. Vera led them to a central chamber where a holographic map flickered to life. It displayed the vast reaches of space, with several regions marked in red. These are the territories of the Coalition, Vera explained, its tone bitter. Once, we were members of their alliance, but when we refused to support their conquests, they branded us as traitors. The crew listened intently as Vera recounted the Elorians' tragic history. Their defiance of the Coalition's aggressive expansion had made them targets. Their homeworld was bombarded into oblivion, and their people were scattered across the galaxy, hunted like criminals. Now, this small group was all that remained. Why haven't others helped you? Mark asked, his voice tinged with anger. Fear, Vera replied simply. The Coalition's reach is vast, and their retribution is swift. No one dares defy them. Captain Royce frowned. And yet you called us. Why? Vera's gaze softened. Because humans are different. Your kind has faced the impossible before and prevailed. We have heard whispers of your defiance against odds greater than ours. You have something no other race possesses: hope. The weight of those words settled over the crew. Humanity had always been underestimated, but here was a race placing their survival in human hands, trusting them to stand against a force far beyond their own strength. But not everyone was convinced. Lieutenant Harris, one of the soldiers, stepped forward. "This is touching and all, but how do we know you're not leading us into a trap? For all we know, the coalition could be waiting to ambush us." Vera didn't flinch. Instead, it extended a trembling hand to a console. With a touch, it activated a recording. The hologram displayed a harrowing scene. Coalition ships raining fire upon the Aelorian homeworld, their cities reduced to ash in moments. The cries of the dying filled the room, a sound so haunting it silenced even the most skeptical among the crew. "This is our truth," Vera said quietly. "If you choose to leave, we will not stop you. But if you abandon us, know that our extinction will weigh on your conscience." Dr. Hayes stepped forward, her voice firm. "We're not leaving. We came here to help, and that's exactly what we'll do." Captain Royce nodded. "We'll need to assess your ships and supplies. If we're going to stand against the coalition, we'll need more than just hope." The enemy revealed. The Horizon Voyager's crew worked tirelessly aboard the Aelorian ship, inspecting their systems and inventory. Dr. Hayes and Mark focused on analyzing the remnants of Aelorian technology, marveling at its complexity. Sleek devices powered by crystalline cores hummed faintly, a testament to a once advanced civilization now on the brink of collapse. "This tech is centuries ahead of ours," Dr. Hayes murmured, carefully handling a damaged device that seemed to alter gravitational fields. Mark nodded, wide-eyed. "If we can get this running again, it could change everything." Meanwhile, Captain Royce and Lieutenant Harris coordinated with Vera to assess the Aelorian fleet's defensive capabilities. It was grim. Most of their ships were barely holding together, their weapons systems outdated and unreliable. But just as the humans and Aelorians began working in harmony, alarms blared throughout the alien ship. A harsh, mechanical voice echoed through the corridors, its tone cold and commanding. "Attention, exiles. Your futile attempts to survive end now. Surrender or be annihilated." The crew rushed to the observation deck, where the source of the threat became horrifyingly clear. A massive coalition warship, sleek and deadly, emerged from the asteroid field. Its dark hull bristled with weaponry, dwarfing the Aelorian ships in both size and firepower. Vera's voice trembled. "It's a Coalition Enforcer-class destroyer. They've found us." Captain Royce's jaw tightened. "How did they locate you? You said this region was safe." Vera's expression darkened. "We underestimated their reach. They must have tracked your arrival." The Coalition ship sent another transmission, this time directed at the Horizon Voyager. A hologram flickered to life, displaying an imposing figure clad in an obsidian uniform. The Coalition commander's face was angular and cold, his glowing eyes a stark contrast to his expressionless demeanor. "Earth vessel," the commander began, his voice dripping with disdain. "You have interfered in matters beyond your comprehension. Leave now, and we may consider sparing your planet from the consequences of your meddling." Captain Royce stepped forward, his voice steady. "We're here to provide aid to those in need. We won't abandon the Aelorians." The commander's lips curled into a faint, humorless smile. "You overestimate your species' importance. Do not mistake compassion for strength. You have been warned." The hologram vanished, and the Coalition warship powered its weapons. The tension was suffocating as Captain Royce issued orders to prepare for a possible confrontation. "Get me a status report on our ship's shields and weapons," he barked. "And someone figure out if we can outmaneuver that monster." Dr. Hayes interjected. "Captain, we can't match their firepower, but maybe we don't have to. The Aelorian tech, there's a chance we can use it to create a diversion." "What are you thinking?" Royce asked, his tone sharp but curious. "There's a cloaking device here, partially functional. If we can repair it, We could shield the Aelorian ships long enough to slip away. It's a gamble, Lieutenant Harris said, crossing his arms. We don't even know if it works. We don't have time to debate. Dr. Hayes shot back. It's this or watch them get slaughtered. Mark chimed in, his fingers flying across a control panel. I think I can patch it together. It won't last long, but it might give us a fighting chance. The crew scrambled to implement the plan as the coalition ship advanced. Vera and the other Aelorians worked alongside the humans, their desperation fueling their determination. For the first time, hope flickered in their weary eyes. But just as the cloaking device activated, a secondary threat emerged. Smaller coalition fighters poured out of the destroyer, swarming the asteroid field like a nest of angry hornets. The Aelorian ships were hopelessly outmatched, their outdated weapons barely scratching the enemy's shields. We're out of time, Captain Royce shouted. Divert all power to shields and prepare for evasive maneuvers. The Horizon Voyager weaved through the chaos, its crew working in perfect sync. Mark and Dr. Hayes struggled to keep the cloaking device stable, the strain evident on their faces. Vera, usually calm and reserved, took a position at one of the control panels, guiding the Aelorian ships to safety. Then, just as hope seemed within reach, the coalition destroyer unleashed a devastating plasma barrage. The energy beams carved through the asteroid field, obliterating two of the smaller Aelorian ships. The survivors could only watch in horror as their comrades vanished in a blaze of light. Dr. Hayes' voice broke through the chaos. The cloaking field is destabilizing. We can't hold it much longer. Divert all remaining power to the Aelorian flagship, Captain Royce ordered. We'll draw their fire. They need to get out of here. The Horizon Voyager positioned itself between the coalition destroyer and the fleeing Aelorian ships, absorbing blow after blow. The crew braced for impact as the ship's shields began to falter. But then something unexpected happened. The Aelorian flagship, its power core glowing brighter than before, unleashed a burst of energy that temporarily disabled the coalition destroyer's weapons. Vera's voice rang out triumphantly. We reactivated an ancient defense system. It's not enough to destroy them, but it'll buy us time. As the coalition ship struggled to recover, the Horizon Voyager and the remaining Aelorian vessels escaped into the void, disappearing into the safety of a nearby nebula. The part ends with Captain Royce and Vera exchanging a somber glance. They'll come for us again, Vera said softly. We'll be ready, Royce replied, though the weight of his words suggested he wasn't entirely sure. The galaxy now knew of humanity's defiance, and the stakes had never been higher. Building alliances, the Horizon Voyager drifted in the calm of the nearby nebula, its systems humming faintly as repairs began. Inside the ship, the crew gathered in the briefing room, their faces illuminated by the holographic map of the galaxy. Captain Royce stood at the center, his expression grim. We can't outrun the coalition forever, Royce began, addressing both the humans and the Aelorians. We need allies, races who are willing to stand against them. But I won't sugarcoat it. This will be an uphill battle. Dr. Hayes nodded, her voice steady. The galaxy is vast, Captain. Surely, not everyone supports the coalition. We just have to find those who are willing to fight. Vera stepped forward, its shimmering skin reflecting the dim light. There are those who sympathize with us, but fear binds them. The coalition's power is absolute. If they suspect rebellion, the consequences are catastrophic. Mark, who had been silent until now, spoke up hesitantly. But if we could prove that the coalition isn't invincible, maybe others would join us. The room fell silent as Royce considered the idea. It's a long shot, but it's all we've got. Vera, do you know of any factions or groups that might align with us? Vera's large eyes glimmered with uncertainty. There is one, the Zerani Collective. They are traders and explorers, fiercely independent, but they've clashed with the coalition before. They may be willing to listen. The crew set course for the Zerani homeworld, a glittering planet orbiting a pulsar star. The journey was tense, every passing moment filled with the fear that the coalition would find them again. Along the way, Vera shared more about the Zirani. They are pragmatic, Vera explained. Their loyalty lies not in ideals but in mutual benefit. If we cannot offer them something of value, they will not risk defying the coalition. As the Horizon Voyager entered Zirani space, they were met with a dazzling sight. Massive trade stations floated in orbit, their sleek architecture glowing with vibrant colors. Zirani ships zipped through the void, their designs graceful yet intimidating. A Zirani ambassador greeted them via hologram. Its appearance was striking. Its body was serpentine, with scales that shimmered like molten gold, and its voice carried an air of authority. "Humans and Alorians," the ambassador began, its tone neutral but curious. "Your presence here is unexpected. State your purpose." Captain Royce stepped forward. "We seek an alliance. The coalition is hunting the Alorians, and it's only a matter of time before they turn their attention to others, including you. Together, we can resist them." The Zirani ambassador's eyes narrowed. "And what do you offer in return? Words alone will not sway us." Vera interjected. "We can share our technology. The Alorian knowledge of energy manipulation is unparalleled. With it, your ships could rival even the coalition's fleet." The ambassador seemed intrigued but unconvinced. A bold claim. Yet knowledge without action is meaningless. Prove your worth, and we may consider your proposal. The Zirani gave them a test, a mission to retrieve a stolen energy core from a rogue coalition outpost. The core was vital to the Zirani's trade network, and its loss had crippled their operations. The mission was dangerous, but success would earn their trust. The crew planned meticulously, combining human ingenuity with Alorian technology. Dr. Hayes and Mark worked tirelessly to modify the Horizon Voyager's stealth systems, while Vera provided insight into the coalition's protocols. The mission began under the cover of darkness. The Horizon Voyager slipped past the outpost's defenses, its cloaking system holding steady. The team infiltrated the station, navigating through narrow corridors and avoiding patrols. Lieutenant Harris led the soldiers, their movements precise and silent. Dr. Hayes and Mark worked quickly to locate the energy core, their portable scanners beeping softly in the tense silence. Vera remained aboard the ship, guiding them remotely through the outpost's layout. But just as they secured the core, alarms blared. The coalition guards had discovered their presence. A firefight erupted, the corridors flashing with bursts of plasma fire. The crew fought valiantly, their unity and quick thinking giving them an edge. "Captain, we've got it," Mark shouted over the comms. "But we're pinned down." "Hold your position," Royce commanded. "We're coming to you." Royce and Harris led a daring rescue, using improvised tactics to outmaneuver the coalition forces. The crew made it back to the Horizon Voyager just as the station's reinforcements arrived. The ship rocketed away, the stolen core safely on board. Back on the Zirani homeworld, the ambassador received them with newfound respect. "You have proven your resourcefulness," it said, its tone warmer. "The Zirani will consider your alliance, but know this: the coalition's wrath will be merciless." Captain Royce nodded. "We understand the risks, but if we stand together, we have a chance." The part ends with the Horizon Voyager departing the Zirani homeworld, its crew buoyed by their first success. But in the shadows of the galaxy, the coalition plotted its next move, determined to crush this fledgling alliance before it could grow. The first skirmish. The alliance with the Zirani collective had sparked hope among the Alorians and humanity, but the fragile coalition was still far from ready for open conflict with the coalition. The crew of the Horizon Voyager worked tirelessly to integrate Alorian technology into their ship, enhancing its capabilities while keeping their movements discreet. Yet, the galaxy had other plans. The Horizon Voyager was en route to meet with a rumored underground resistance group when a distress signal crackled through their communications array. It wasn't Alorian or Zirani. It was human. The voice on the other end was panicked, begging for help. "This is the freighter Stellar Dawn. We're under attack by Coalition forces. Coordinates attached. Please, if anyone can hear this, help us." Captain Royce clenched his fists, staring at the blinking coordinates on the screen. "It's a trap," Lieutenant Harris said bluntly. "They know we're here, and they're baiting us." Dr. Hayes shook her head. "It might not be. The Coalition isn't subtle. They would have blasted the freighter already. If it's human, we can't ignore it." Vera, standing in the shadows, added quietly, "If this is a Coalition trap, it's better to spring it on your terms than theirs." Royce made his decision. "We're going in. Prep the ship for battle. If it's a trap, we'll fight our way out." The Horizon Voyager dropped out of warp near a derelict mining station orbiting a dying planet. The freighter Stellar Dawn floated nearby, its hull scorched and engines flickering. Surrounding it were 3 Coalition attack ships, sleek and menacing. As soon as the Horizon Voyager appeared, the Coalition ships broke formation and opened fire. Plasma bolts streaked through the void, forcing Royce to take evasive maneuvers. "Shields at 60%. Mark called out, gripping the edge of his console. "We can't take too many hits like that." "Return fire," Royce ordered. "Target their engines. We're not here for a drawn-out fight." The Horizon Voyager's newly installed energy weapons roared to life, courtesy of Aelorian upgrades. The beams struck true, disabling one Coalition ship's engines and sending it spiraling toward the planet's atmosphere. Meanwhile, a boarding party led by Lieutenant Harris launched toward the freighter to rescue its crew. The team breached the freighter's airlock, weapons drawn, and found themselves face to face with terrified civilians, miners, traders, and their families, all hiding in the darkened corridors. "We're here to help," Harris assured them, though his eyes scanned for any signs of deception. "Stay close and follow our lead." But as the civilians were being escorted to the boarding craft, a new danger emerged. Coalition soldiers, armed and relentless, stormed the freighter. A fierce firefight erupted, plasma bolts ricocheting off walls as Harris and his team defended the civilians. Back aboard the Horizon Voyager, the battle intensified. The remaining Coalition ships coordinated their attacks, their plasma barrages overwhelming the ship's shields. "Captain, we've got a problem," Mark shouted. "They're charging some kind of high-energy weapon. If it hits us, we're done." Royce's mind raced. "Hayes, what do we have left in terms of Aelorian tech?" Dr. Hayes hesitated. "There's an experimental EMP device Vera and I modified, but it's unstable. If it fails, we don't have a choice. Do it." Dr. Hayes activated the EMP device. A pulse of energy rippled outward from the Horizon Voyager, briefly disrupting the Coalition ship's systems. It was just enough time for Royce to make his move. "Fire everything we've got," he commanded. The ship's energy cannons unleashed a relentless barrage, disabling another Coalition attacker. The remaining ship, realizing the tide had turned, fled into hyperspace, leaving the battlefield eerily silent. Back on the freighter, Harris and his team had managed to repel the Coalition soldiers. As they returned to the Horizon Voyager with the rescued civilians, Captain Royce debriefed the crew. "Casualties?" Royce asked, his tone heavy. "No losses, sir," Harris replied. "A few injuries, but we got everyone out." Dr. Hayes approached one of the freighter's crew, a grizzled miner named Jace. "Why were the Coalition after you?" she asked. Jace looked grim. "They don't need a reason. We've been hauling resources from this sector for years. But lately, they've been tightening their grip, forcing us to pay protection fees. We refused, and this is what we got." Royce's jaw tightened. It's not just about the Aelorians anymore. The Coalition is expanding its control over neutral systems, and innocent people are paying the price. The Horizon Voyager escorted the civilians to a nearby safe haven, but the crew knew the battle was far from over. The skirmish had proven one thing: humanity, the Aelorians, and their allies could stand against the Coalition, even if the odds were stacked against them. As the part ends, a chilling message is intercepted. It's from the Coalition, and it's directed at Earth. To the people of Earth, your interference has been noted. Your defiance will not go unpunished. Royce stared at the message, determination burning in his eyes. They want a fight. We'll give them one. The galaxy was watching, and humanity's first stand against the Coalition had begun. The final stand. The Horizon Voyager returned to its hidden base within the nebula, where the Zerani and Aelorian allies were waiting. The Coalition's message loomed heavy over the crew, its threat sparking urgency among their makeshift alliance. Everyone knew the time for preparation was over. War was coming. In the command center, Captain Royce addressed the gathered leaders of the alliance. The holographic map displayed the incoming Coalition fleet, a massive armada cutting through space toward Earth. They're not just coming for us, Royce said, his voice firm. They're making an example. If we don't stop them here, no one will dare stand against them again. The room was tense. Vera stepped forward, its shimmering form glowing with resolve. We must unite our strengths. The Aelorian technology, the Zerani fleet, and humanity's ingenuity. Together, we can achieve the impossible. A Zerani strategist, Ambassador Turles, nodded but remained cautious. Even with our combined forces, their fleet dwarfs ours. What's your plan, Captain? Royce gestured to the map. We'll turn their strength into their weakness. The Coalition relies on overwhelming numbers, but their formation is rigid. If we can lure them into a bottleneck near the Tarnos Nebula, we can neutralize their advantage. Dr. Hayes added, the Aelorian tech has a secret weapon, gravitational disruptors. If placed strategically, we can destabilize their larger ships, forcing them to rely on their smaller fighters, where our ships have the advantage. The plan was ambitious, risky, and borderline suicidal, but it was their best shot. The leaders agreed, and preparations began immediately. As the Coalition fleet approached, the Allied forces moved into position. The Zerani ships formed the vanguard, their sleek designs weaving through the nebula with practiced ease. The Aelorian vessels, now patched together with human ingenuity, took up defensive positions, ready to deploy the disruptors. The Horizon Voyager would lead the strike team, drawing the Coalition into the trap. Tension gripped every soldier, pilot, and engineer. On board the Horizon Voyager, Mark stood beside Dr. Hayes in the engine room, double-checking the disruptors. Do you think this will work? Mark asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Hayes glanced at him, her expression determined. It has to. Meanwhile, Vera stood on the bridge with Captain Royce. Your people are remarkable, Vera said quietly. You have faced so much, yet you stand unbroken. Royce didn't look away from the viewport. Humanity has a knack for surviving the impossible. Let's hope that holds true today. The battle began with a deafening roar as the Coalition fleet surged into the nebula, their warships cutting through space like blades. The Zerani ships engaged first, their energy weapons lighting up the darkness. The Coalition responded with brutal efficiency, their plasma cannons ripping through the smaller vessels. But the Allied forces held their ground, drawing the Coalition deeper into the trap. The Horizon Voyager led a daring charge, its upgraded shields absorbing hit after hit as it weaved through the enemy lines. Mark and Dr. Hayes activated the gravitational disruptors, sending ripples through space that threw the Coalition's larger ships into disarray. One massive Coalition dreadnought veered off course, colliding with another and triggering a chain reaction of explosions. The sight sent a surge of hope through the Allied forces. Disruptors are working, Mark shouted over the comms. They're breaking formation. Royce seized the moment. All ships, focus fire on their flanks. Push them toward the bottleneck. The battle reached its climax as the Coalition's commander, the same cold figure who had threatened Earth, realized the trap. His holographic image appeared on the Horizon Voyager's bridge. You think this changes anything? He sneered. Your defiance will end here, as will your pathetic alliance. Royce didn't flinch. We'll see about that. The coalition unleashed a desperate counterattack, deploying waves of fighters to overwhelm the Allied ships. The Zerani and Aelorian pilots fought valiantly, but the tide began to shift against them. In the chaos, Vera made a bold suggestion. We can use the Aelorian flagship's core to detonate a gravitational singularity. It will destroy their fleet, but it will cost us our ship. Royce hesitated. Sacrificing the Aelorian flagship, the heart of their people's survival, was unthinkable. But the stakes left no other choice. "I'll go," Vera said, its voice steady. "My people have endured enough. If my sacrifice ensures their future, it is a price I am willing to pay." The room fell silent, but Royce finally nodded. "You're braver than most humans I've met, Vera. Let's make sure it counts." The Horizon Voyager provided cover as Vera and a small team activated the flagship's core. The gravitational singularity began to form, a swirling mass of energy pulling everything into its deadly grasp. The coalition fleet, caught in the trap, had no escape. "All Allied ships, retreat to safe distance," Royce ordered. "We're not losing anyone else." As the singularity reached critical mass, it consumed the coalition's largest ships, tearing them apart in a brilliant explosion. The Allied forces watched from a distance, the destruction lighting up the void like a second sun. When the battle ended, the Allied fleet regrouped. The cost had been great, but they had achieved the impossible, defeating the coalition in open combat. On board the Horizon Voyager, Captain Royce stood with Dr. Hayes and Mark, their faces weary but victorious. "We've shown the galaxy that the coalition isn't invincible," Royce said. "Now it's time to rebuild and prepare for what comes next." The part ends with a somber but hopeful note. The galaxy had seen humanity's resolve, and while the coalition was wounded, the war was far from over. Yet, for the first time in centuries, there was a glimmer of hope for freedom among the stars. A new beginning. The aftermath of the battle was both triumphant and sobering. The nebula, once a quiet refuge, was now littered with the debris of destroyed coalition ships and the remains of the Allied vessels that had paid the ultimate price. The Horizon Voyager drifted silently among the wreckage, its crew exhausted but alive. Messages of gratitude and sorrow flowed from the Aelorian and Zerani fleets. On the bridge, Captain Royce stared at the holographic map, now devoid of the enemy fleet. "We won," Mark said softly, standing beside him. "But it doesn't feel like a victory." "It's not the end," Royce replied, his voice heavy. "The coalition will regroup. This was just one battle in a much larger war." The call for unity. With the coalition fleet destroyed, a ripple of hope spread across the galaxy. Subjugated species, long cowed by the coalition's tyranny, began to rise. Small rebellions sparked on distant worlds, their people emboldened by the news of the battle. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy glimpsed the possibility of freedom. Dr. Hayes and Vera, now the de facto diplomatic leaders of the Alliance, worked tirelessly to rally these newfound allies. Messages were sent to independent systems, inviting them to join a growing coalition of resistance. On the Zerani homeworld, a grand meeting was held. Leaders from various species, some hesitant and others eager, gathered to discuss their future. The hall was a mosaic of alien faces, each unique yet united by a shared desire for liberation. Vera, still mourning the loss of its flagship, addressed the assembly. "We are not here as separate species fighting separate battles. We are here as one people standing against oppression. Humanity showed us that defiance is possible, and together we can achieve the impossible." The crowd erupted in agreement, their voices a chorus of hope. Humanity's new role. Back on Earth, news of the battle had shaken the planet. For decades, humanity had looked to the stars with curiosity, but now they faced a stark reality. They were no longer observers, they were participants in a galactic struggle. The United Nations, overwhelmed by the events, held emergency sessions. Delegates debated humanity's role in the growing resistance. Should Earth become a leader in the fight, or should it retreat and protect itself from the inevitable retaliation? Captain Royce, speaking before the assembly, made his position clear. We didn't ask for this war, but it's here. If we turn our backs now, the galaxy will fall, and the coalition will come for us next. We have a responsibility, to ourselves, and to the allies who stood with us. His words resonated, and humanity made a historic decision. Earth would not stand alone. It would lead. A united front. With Earth's resources and ingenuity, the Allied fleet began rebuilding. Alorian engineers shared their advanced technology, while Zerani traders supplied critical materials. Humanity, with its unyielding determination, became the heart of the operation. Mark worked alongside Dr. Hayes and Alorian scientists to adapt the gravitational disruptor into a powerful new weapon, capable of turning the tide in future battles. The Horizon Voyager, now a symbol of resistance, was upgraded with the latest innovations, becoming a beacon of hope for the galaxy. The Alliance's first major act was to liberate a key system under Coalition control. The planet Ardos, home to billions of oppressed inhabitants, had become a fortress for the Coalition. The Allied fleet launched a daring assault, combining strategy, courage, and the lessons learned from their victory in the nebula. The battle was fierce, but the Coalition's forces, still reeling from their earlier defeat, were unprepared for the unity and determination of the Allied fleet. Ardos was freed, and its people joined the resistance, swelling their ranks. The Coalition's response. The Coalition, humiliated and weakened, could no longer ignore the growing threat. Its leaders convened in a darkened chamber, their faces obscured by shadows. They have united under the banner of humanity, one growled. We underestimated them. They are an infestation, another said coldly. We will crush them, no matter the cost. Plans were set into motion for a counterstrike, one that would target the heart of the resistance, Earth. A glimpse of the future. On the Horizon Voyager, Captain Royce stood on the observation deck, staring out at the stars. Dr. Hayes joined him, holding a tablet displaying the latest intelligence. The Coalition is regrouping, she said. Their next move will be swift and brutal. Royce nodded. And we'll be ready. They thought we were insignificant. They thought they could break us, but we've shown them the strength of unity. Vera approached, its luminous eyes reflecting the starlight. Your kind has inspired more than you know, Captain. The galaxy owes you a debt. Royce turned to face Vera and Hayes, a small smile breaking through his fatigue. We didn't do this alone. And we won't face what's coming alone, either. The part ends with the crew of the Horizon Voyager looking toward the horizon, knowing that their fight is far from over, but confident in the strength of their alliance. The galaxy, once fractured and fearful, now stood on the brink of revolution, a revolution sparked by the bravery of an exiled race and the unyielding spirit of humanity.